We are diving into every single sound, vocals, and instrumentation in Kiss Me More by Doja Cat and SZA. Let's get started. If this is your first time here, we're going to listen through to a section, 4 to 8 bars, and then go back and break everything down in it, and then talk through the concepts, talk through the sounds, talk through the motifs as you go through the track. Let's go. A great simple intro, which sets us up for the ornateness and complexity coming down the line. This wonderful guitar loop, it sounds like it has some tremolo, chorus, and really interesting, maybe even slightly ring mod effect going on in that main guitar loop that goes throughout most of the song. And then we have this synth where it could be... To me, it sounds like a keyboard and a bass separate. So the bass is really bringing in the shaping you're actually seeing here in the transient, this portion. And then you can hear the keyboard, this very light sustain that keeps throughout underneath the guitar lick. So it sounds like we have a separate bass that's really pushing the and then that little keyboard patch is filling up some nice sustain. So the guitar doesn't sound too empty or hollow. And then lastly, as we get through this intro, we get a little reverse vocal lead-in. That little lead-in "we" is really simple to recreate because all they're doing is taking a vocal, just that first syllable, dousing it in reverb, reversing it, and then having it swell up and finessing that fade. So we have this kind of classy lead-in to introduce our vocal, our Doja. And now, one last thing. This is really important. This rhythmic motif right here that you see from all the bass transients is our main rhythmic motif the entire song. We have a little bit of alternating rhythm here because we have upbeat, upbeat, and then back to the one. That same upbeat, but then So they make sure to really punctuate the ending of the phrase with that 3, 4, 1. Almost every single time. I don't want to say every single time, but it's that rhythmic motif that keeps all the change and development grounded with this guitar chord progression. And that's just one thing I wanted to point out because that caught me. All right, actually quite a bit happening in this first verse with the vocals, which I am always a fan of. So all that is one Doja up the middle. It seems like that's the only thing that's being added in that first portion of the phrase. Now, that background part has a little more than you might even think because the la 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 la, like that little lady. Also, if you've seen me do this before, you know I'm going to absolutely eviscerate any attempt of recreating the vocals with my face. So I apologize in advance. But, you know, we're dissecting it here, not expecting a Doja Cat replication with my vocal performance right now. So we have two tracks, like one hard left, one hard right, doing the la 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 la. But on the oh la 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 la, that like high note, that's when the additional layers come in. So that's when you get the sustain that carries over the downbeat past it. And it continues on for more than I think people give that vocal credit for because it hits on that. So it does this little descent, and I don't know if they recorded it intending to fade it out, or maybe they just didn't like how it felt after they laid it all down, but it's just like, let's elegantly push it down and then let the verse continue on. So that's two different vocal parts really coming together. And to hear it, I use lalal.ai here to get this vocal separated from the track. Good night. So you can hear it a little better in that sim. So let's carry on. All right, now we have two percussive elements. Obviously, the hi-hat. but this is something you'll really feel on the headphones, the panning of this. All of this video, ideally, you'll get the most when you're wearing something in stereo. So when I point in different directions, you'll be able to pick it up and really hear the details best. But just a side note. So we have this percussion. It's primarily on the right side. It's a little dun, 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 dun. And then there's this delay that it hits here and then it goes to the delay on the left side of your ear. Now, if I went to just the instrumental track, it's very innocent, almost invisible percussion, but it does add energy and lift instead of just... It just adds some of that R&B sauce that's coated throughout this track that, of course, makes it wonderful. So we have those 2 new percussion layers, and I think that might be it. Well, and then, of course, the harmony. The lips on mine. That just sounds like 2 Dojas panned out. Nothing crazy there. Rhythmic pattern. Same. So the harmony and the rhythm have not changed, right? The emphasis of the groove, the chords, the harmony foundation of our song has not changed at all. All we're doing, this is what I call vibe percolation, right? We're percolating this vibe and slowly building it up like boiling water, just slowly gets juicier as we go along. So that at its core is the same. Rhythm, harmony, that guitar loop is there. It sounds like they haven't changed anything in the mix. Now we're adding a ton more to it. So let's break that down. The first thing, I like to go build from the foundation up. So we have the drums. Pretty simple, because we have that little percussive thing in the back. We have obviously the same hi-hat, that 8th note that we had in the second half of the verse. But they tightened it up a lot more than here. So listen to this hi-hat in this part. A little darker, longer body to the hi-hat. This is a lot tighter. It sounds like they've layered a new hi-hat sample, maybe pulled down the dark, longer one. So we have a little snappier, a little tighter as we come into this section. So we have that hi-hat going on, and then this crunchy, the actual kick and snare itself. It's interesting because they actually skipped doing the kick drums on these hits, so the downbeat is really nice. So no kick, kick. Then it comes in heavy. So that's interesting. I didn't realize that till right now. So that's all just 4 on the floor. Disco beat, and then we're just using the hi-hat to add that emphasis. So no crash cymbals. Crash cymbals are old and outdated in a lot of modern music, at least used in a typical normal sense. So they're really driving in that open hi-hat functions as our crash cymbal or like big effect that we wanted to bring in. And then the drums are just stanking along throughout this whole section. So that's most of what's going on in the drum section. Let's turn our attention to the bass because we have an interesting bass change going on. That is now a real bass. An actual picked bass guitar instead of that synth bass part from before. But I can tell that they modeled the synth bass off of this bass sound because they have the same characteristics of that intense pluck, not a huge sustain. And so that's really a motif throughout all this song is there's not a bass part that's do. It's very don't, 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 don't. You know, now we have nice, warm, beautiful low-end blossoming, and then we also have space to contrast it. So it keeps the song really open feeling instead of very packed in and dense. So just my observation of the bass tone change here. Now it feels a little more live, a little funkier, now that we have that real bass playing along. And it's able to lay in and really articulate things in a way that synth wasn't bringing energetically. And it sounds like it's on a 5-string or detuned 4 because there's some very low notes on that bass, but it's perfect. Having the bass playing up high wouldn't really work in a song like this. We'd lose so much ribcage low-end meat energy there. So now let's turn our attention to the guitars. Next up, we have that secondary funk part. It's a little pan to the right. But that's it. We have our main arpeggio. Very simple. So we just added a secondary guitar part on the guitar. And now, anything else with the keys? Nope, not at all. Simple. All right. Then, of course, now let's talk vocals. This is a super common practice, doing the panned out and big vocal and then the center vocals. We have this contrast. Of course, this is the hook. Can you kiss me more? And then right now we get a secondary part of the chorus melody and then the actual. So now they've split up the melody. So instead of it all being up the center or all being big, we have some nice contrast. And then of course that leads into our post-chorus. So I'm imagining the post-chorus's role in the song did play a part in how they dress the vocals. So we have the no harmony till the downbeat. Can you kiss me? I'm not even gonna try to be a mouse and proclaim to arrive up there, but it's no harmony until we hit that downbeat. So we have a nice even little evolution within the vocals, the same way we do in the drums, right? No kick drum on the first two hits, and then the kick drum hits, and then no harmony on the first two words, and then the harmony comes in. So we're adding in some nice elements there. Now, the inkling for most people in pop is lead vocal center, harmonies panned out, right? So it would be here, and then harmonies would be panned out. But I love that they keep this up the middle, because then it makes these vocals so much more tremendous when they actually come in on the downbeat, the response. And then this, right? It's just that beautiful, beautiful, wide and focused difference. And that's it. That's the only stuff that came in, right? Elevating drum groove, one guitar pattern, more ornate vocals, and the real bass. That's the core of the change that happened here to elevate this chorus. And this is just good to pay attention to, because it's showing that perhaps I think we tend to overcomplicate how we're dressing production or try to dress production. I know my work, whether I'm doing it as a service for another artist or doing it if somebody I'm mentoring for them to do it for themselves, that is a common motif, is we'll overcomplicate it instead of developing an idea through the song. So I just really want to emphasize that what I'm calling the vibe percolation is so tremendously impactful on this. Well, the wonderful thing is when you change the vocals that much, you don't really need to change the instrumental. The instrumentation has one change to it for this post-chorus. Everything else is vocally driven. There's a lot happening in the vocals, but everything else is vocally driven. So we have that bend up. Again, right? No crash cymbal, no fizz. It's just a lot more R&B, a lot smoother, and a lot more graceful, so Doja Cat can really own that brightness and that high end in this song. All right, I'm sure you've heard it, but what's interesting is this vocal percussion comes in later. So we have a couple of Dojas doing kind of doing a little bit of light beatbox on the sides. They've definitely darkened it a bit, so it's not stepping on the actual vocal lines, but it's a nice energy, and I really like effective use of beatboxing in our vocal production. Now we have the counterpoint in our melody, though, for this post-chorus. So this is a really cool, I just love this section. It feels great. I mean, it just feels great. So we have our low vocal in the center. Right now, we're still, even this post-chorus, we have two sections that are contrasting each other. But this first part of the melody in the if we're calling post-chorus, da 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 da. I'm calling that A, and then that all on my tongue, I want it, as the B section. This A here still contrasts that we had before, right? This one she's in a much more brighter, kind of grittier rasp stank tone, and a lot more forcefulness, and then this gets softer and darker and lower. So, So just even within that change, there's a huge difference in the sonic texture going on here. Now, we have that main one up the middle. There could be doubles going on. It's very hard to tell sometimes, or if it's just really widened. But either way, something's up there. that obviously makes it feel bigger, whether it's doubles or some kind of effect that's really pulling it apart a little bit in the center. And then we have, it sounds like there might be one harmony and then even a secondary harmony. So a 3-part in total that's tucked underneath. It's, again, a little hard to tell, but those are all panned out, right? So we have this nice warm center Doja covered here in the middle. And then the beatboxing comes in, and then Now, you may not have noticed this, you probably didn't, but when the all on my tongue I want it comes in, they actually pull that vocal, the other vocals down to leave room for it. So check this out. Really up front, boom, and then it brings it right back up. So just the little nuances to make sure that the who is commanding the attention vocal is getting center stage instead of farting a bunch of layers on top, and it sounds muddy and cloudy and cluttered as crap. But now let's actually pick apart what's in the all on my tongue I want it. So interestingly, it sounds like there's no room vocal, right? This could have easily been a all on my tongue I want it. They might be evolving into that later, I don't quite remember, but what they did is they have the high ones on the side. Her most aggressive, that's on the sides, and then they have the lower energy ones in the middle are panned in a little bit. So we have this upside down triangle of energy, low, warm in the middle. And they're not in tune fully either. There's just, oh, my toe on it. But it's not like they tuned everything to be perfectly in unison. And that's a great contrast to this hyper tight post-chorus melody here as well. So some great contrast and energy. And then come back around one more time. And then we have a little beat drop, pull out. Oh my God, there's so many weird things here that are so fun, but I love it. The first thing is, of course, we have that long Doja. Really interesting way to bring in the second verse that I would have never thought of personally, but I just love it because it isn't the typical verse 2 start that you're expecting. You expect it to get like really tight and close down and let's bring it back down, but it's like, no, the party's continuing. And I appreciate that energy a lot. Now, the other thing is that I almost didn't catch. I almost thought my ear made it up the first time I heard this. Listen to the sides, a low octave of her lead vocal in the second verse. It's just, it is so subtle, but again, so powerful and so just interesting as far as adding a little bit of unexpected texture that keeps our ear intrigued and keeps us interested in what's coming next. Now, right, it's just a verse that's elevated. Right, we had no drums in verse 2, we have drums in verse 2. And of course, like new lyrics, but on the instrumentation, and that's all we did is we brought the groove in. Same solo vocal. But it sounds like she has a lot more effects on her voice here. I can hear the bouncing delay. Delay and reverb, it sounds like, going on in the back. You really hear it here. And so besides that, vocals up, drums, vocal effects up, drums in, new lyric, that's the second verse. Then we have that little changer, right? Obviously the beat cuts out just the kick hits. Little subtle change, but now remember our rhythm. Remember how I said the rhythm? Okay, so the rhythm of the ending of our phrases has tended to be 3, 4, 1. So now we're switching that up, right? And we're going 1, 2, 3.
I'm giving you hundreds, come get it. Something we just
So which is an interesting little change of our expectations, right? These are subtle changes, but are so impactful to making the song sound interesting and having that little pickup clap. 1,
I'm
2.
giving you hundreds, come get it. Something we just gotta get into. Sing.
So just, again, little expectation change keeps us interested, and now we're in the second half, what I call verse 2 mod. So similar vibe, but now a totally different vocal style, delivery, tone to propel the energy forward.
I'm giving you hundreds, come get it. Something we just gotta get into. Sing first, middle,
Right,
last,
because
and the wisdom
this
too.
is
And they
more
wishing that they could-
melodically tight as opposed to the first part, a little tighter on the grid vocal.
Something we just gotta get into. Sing first, middle, last, and the
Totally
wisdom
different
too. And they wishing that
melodically
they
as well
could
from
keep us
anything
like
we've heard,
taste breakfast,
which makes it
lunch, and
super,
dinner.
super intriguing to listen to. I haven't heard her give any kind of delivery like this, just in the same as the post-chorus, so we had that delta of the two different vocal tones. This is also very different, so even our verse is having tone differentiation to drive our energy forward. Now, this still is a verse, so they've kept her up the middle, but then we have those breathing things from the chorus, right? That breathing concept came back in a new way.
Something we just gotta get into. Sing first, middle, last, and the wisdom too. And they wishing that the cookie was a kissing boo. Taste breakfast, lunch, and
Tiniest detail about these little breaths. It's so hard to tell, but the first time it's 4 hits,
something we just
so
gotta get into. Sing first, middle,
and then
last,
3.
and the wisdom too. And they wishing that the cookie was a
4.
kissing boo. Taste breakfast, lunch.
right, so it's but you would never pick up on it.
Sing first, middle, last, and the wisdom too. And they wishing that the cookie was a kissing boo. Taste breakfast, lunch, and gin and juice, and that dinner just like dessert.
And then they pick up the energy as it goes forward, because before we're only getting it on the 3 and 4 beats. Then after this halfway point, we elevate that. Now it's 2, 3, 4 with the and of 1 as well. We're getting that pickup right after the downbeat. Wild. Little energy change. Tiny energy change, but moves the verse forward in a huge, huge way.
Bite that lip, come get me too. He want lipstick, lip gloss, hickeys too. Guess what? We're so
Similar kind of a pause, and then we're back into the chorus.
gloss, hickeys too. Guess what? We're so young, boy. We ain't got the
Pretty much the same here, unless I'm missing something.
Oh, it's just principle. Baby, hold me, 'cause I like the way you move.
Now we can just vibe while we're waiting for that next sound to come in. This all sounds pretty similar. Wow, that's actually kind of unexpected. I don't often hear choruses that are so identical. Maybe there's little details. If I'm missing something, please let me know. But that's interesting to hear, right? Part of this process is dissecting and saying, oh, that is, okay, well, that's what they did. Like now it becomes another trick for your arsenal. And it looks like that whole chorus and post-chorus was exactly the same. So perhaps if I had to guess, it would be because there's so much differentiation happening in the verses that coming home and just letting it be was maybe even more relaxing and nice to have that familiarity instead of these constant little changes. But either way, let's move into our SZA verse.
Give me a bug, need the Gucci stuff. Push your limit, you ain't good enough. All you fellas say that you lost without me. All my shorties be like I dodged it. Don't need coffee.
Oh, SZA. Oh, SZA, you brilliant, evil genius mastermind. So, all right, there's a lot to unpack here. Let's talk about the drums first. We got a lot to say about vocals. We have that little shaker, and then just the hi-hat, and just the tiniest little backbeat at moments you can pick out. Right there. Tiny little backbeats, but mostly just that hi-hat and a little staticky shaker cuts coming in for a little bit of energy, but mostly vocals, and then our drums come back in. But let's talk about these vocals. Now, we're into the third verse, and her vocal comes in with so much reverb on it. It's crazy. In a good way. Now, interestingly, this is the first time we're having doubles emphasizing her phrased endings, which you don't really get in the Doja verse as much. When there's more doubles coming in, they tend to be harmonies, other new layers, but you have some doubles hitting on it sounds like there might be slight doubles tucked underneath, but we also have this really subtle in the back. Listen, I'll play the vocals only version. I can't even quite tell if it's there, but it sounds like there's like very soft SZA's going good. Like, gotta bring it. It's so subtle though. I don't even know if the vocal separation picked up that it was a vocal. It was that subtle. But either way. Now we have those really cool vocal glitches, which I love. Eep, eep. And then again. Bop, bop. So we probably took it from a word somewhere in this and then chopped and found the right syllable and placed it where it fit. Or they might have said it in like bop. And then, oh, that's too real, and then cut it down to be the glitch. But either way. Right, and then just bring the groove back. Now we're energy up. Okay, I need to emphasize this. Since the chorus, we've had very little new instrumentation going on. Have you noticed that? We're just reintroducing the beat. Oh, let's let a tiny clap be the backbeat for this first half here. Oh, let's add 2 shaker hits there. Let's pull out the drums here, move the kick drum. Very little new harmonic, or excuse me, instrumentation information. Vibe percolating very much throughout this song. And then we get into the craziness. All right, so 2 things. Right, so kind of like our first verse where we had the la la la's and we had other vocals kind of underneath it, we have a similar thing because in our vocal only stem, we have the tighter, quicker ones on the side. We have the jail, 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 like this thing multiple times, and then we have these. It could even be vocoder or talk box because they're so tuned and so processed. Might be a little. It could either just be tightly tuned, a little vocoder blended in, or a little like talk box kind of thing. So we have these ones that are more the ad libs, and then we have the run actually more tucked in, so they're not all just panned out hard. And then same setup there. So we have the quicker, brighter ones on the side, and then that nice, luscious, warm, delicious, beautiful mid-range, like a hyper-processed version of a stack going on a little panned in and darker. And then just a single. Which again, nice contrast. It sounds beautiful because it's SZA. Duh. But they did a great job mixing it to not step on her lead vocal here. Sounds like they probably took out some presence there to really just push it back and let it be here, but not like right in front of your face. Now, this is an interesting thing I only noticed right before I made this video. Listen to this. Then, this is Doja's verse 2 mod. Hers. Very similar little moments there rhythmically and melodically, which I thought was interesting. Both the ways that their modifications of their verses come up had this moment of similarity, right? It's similar but different. Very similar, also very different. Right, another new effect, one we haven't heard before, new information. Beautiful. And then now she's just doing more of the doubling her line here. Know that. So this nice double, and then we have doubles on the sides for twice. And then high octave. Close enough. So now we have this, right? Now we're amping up the energy. And so the alternating between these parts is going to pick up in intensity. Her performance picks up in intensity. And if you notice, like this is to me almost like a pre-chorus. I didn't label it exactly as a pre-chorus, but now this melody is like very clearly incomplete. Very clearly incomplete melody. So it's setting up this melodic change in tension. It's like it's headed somewhere. This melody doesn't feel final. This melody doesn't feel at ease, but it feels like it's floating in this ether, and then it brings us into the pre-chorus. So just a melodic perspective of what was happening here that I really loved how she brought this back. Now, and that's the same. Now these background vocals are the exact same setup as earlier in the verse, right? We start with a couple on the side, and then this extra blur, this extra blurry, this extra floomp of vocals comes in partway through the response, right? And then as she's picking up in intensity, it doesn't seem like there's a need to add even more vocals there. So they just let her lead vocal own the stage and own that moment, which again, that's a great way to keep the focus, right? If nothing else is happening, she's going off. Like she hasn't gone off here like this. So she's taken up the stage. We don't need to really force her into a box with it. All right, now, back. There it is. Okay, there's two weird things that I love about this. First is, so she's singing really interesting, darker harmony choices that I love. And it's nice because then they evolve. This is great because we have two different harmonies going on, one hard left, one hard right, and then tucked in. Wait, okay, that's wild. But again, hard left, hard right melody. And then the right harmony comes in from being panned hard right and then trails off down. Oh, beautiful. And so it goes from being a harmony to just like an ad lib, then walking down. And then some crazy little run there. So again, not a ton. They even waited until the back half to give us these extra harmonies. I know the inclination is oftentimes stuff the third chorus. I think they did a great job of letting her bring in her energy and her stank, but also not being obtrusive and overfilling a song like this, because it's not so aggressive and in your face to fill up every moment. That space is crucial to the balance of the track. Now, interestingly, SZA takes over this section here. And then instead of Doja. And with less harmony. It's either center 2 doubles, left, right, or center 4 doubles, left, left, right, right. Same beatbox. And then, so there's no harmony up until the ooh la 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 la. Wild. And then, now SZA gives us that delicious vocal change. So now, instead of adding more energy, I think the inclination is always more, higher, brighter. But since they have this breakdown of an outro, they're almost leading us and washing us away instead of building us up with tons of hype and craziness. So I can do the same. I can do the same. I can do the same. I love the taste. Oh, I love the taste. That is just so nice and something we haven't gotten before. I can do the same. I love the taste. Oh, la, 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 la. New. Ooh, la, 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 la. wonderful, new harmony, but nothing else really besides that.
All on my tongue, I want it.
And then the guitar. And that's it. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Kiss Me More, I would love to invite you to the Facebook music community that I am part of and run. I'm live there every single month. It's a great place to build yourself up with like-minded people, get direct feedback and access to myself on the live streams from our feedback streams, or when I'm breaking down stuff like this for literally hours at a time. That is all available in the Facebook community. Would love to have you there and say what's up. And lastly, if you made it this far, let me know if you mind these videos being even just a little bit longer, because it allows me to go in depth and cover everything with the instrumentation and the vocals. I know I sure enjoyed doing it, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for coming on the journey with me. Now get out there, work hard, and remember, kindness wins.